Good morning. We're gonna welcome Robert Grandjambe, Chloe Dragon Smith. They're gonna answer some questions about the videos that they made in their camp.
Rob and Chloe, it's my real privilege to welcome you guys and to thank you so very much for the time and the effort and the trouble you've put into this. And I can't believe what you've done with the cabin. It's looking so different. There's so much more stuff there. Buildings and tents and so on. And I just wanted to say, do you remember sitting around your mother's dining room table teaching me to make these?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's see the bottom sole. Let's see the bottom sole. Wearing them. You gotta wear them.
Oh, they're too precious. They've got to hang up so my whole class can see them. That was a lot of effort and a lot of teaching on your and your mom's part. So we've got lots of questions that the kids are asking. I've just got to go onto the document. Have we got any come in yet, Miguel? And I'm going to leave it open to you. So if you could tell us a bit about what you do and when the questions start coming in.
Shirley, I'm going to send you the link directly. But the first question that I see there is what is it like living in the woods all year round?
Okay, you want to take this one?
Are we are we going now? Like we're answering the.
Yeah, we're live right now. We have 37 people watching us.
Oh, great. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Danse. So I guess the question was, what is it like being on the land full time for, since basically COVID on March 14th was we came out for we thought of a few weeks in the spring of last year. It turned out to be a full year. And I guess we're continuing living out here. We've adjusted our livelihood and our lifestyles to accommodate living in the bush. It's been really rewarding and very challenging for a lot of reasons, but the benefits are our health and well-being. The physical activity we maintain on our daily chores keeps us going, keeps us entertained and very active. Everything from hauling your own water, and hauling our own firewood, and maintaining the cabin and our retrieving our own food. It all takes a lot of effort and a lot of exertion. So it's relatively enjoyable, and most times it's the land will always appreciate your company in the bush, and will always try to accommodate your to the animals. So it's been very rewarding, very what would you say, harmonious. Yeah. So we definitely enjoy living out here. It's going to town for our supplies. We spend a couple hours in town, and it's we I guess miss the bush. So it's definitely a lifestyle we're adopting, both of us, to be able to be out here and enjoy. And nature has so much to offer and show and teach us every day. And it's every day is something brand new. Like just for example, last night beaver hunting, we seen a nice cow moose, and we didn't see a calf with it, so it should have been calving at this time. So be right around the corner, basically, that cow would be producing a little calf. And there's always beautiful things to see, and the lovely sunsets and the spring migration is coming through right now. So a lot of waterfowl, a lot of ducks, a lot of new ducks that we don't normally see all year. That fly up to the Arctic. We have a little viewing calendar. We get to check out the different migration birds, and soon it'll be in June is the hatching month, and we'll have duck eggs to go and pick and look for them. So there's always something to look forward to. Yeah. So
I think it's, for me, just like Rob saying, the land, when we're out here full time, the land is leading what we do. Whereas when you just go outside for maybe like a day on the weekend, you have a kind of plan in mind of what you want to do and where you want to go. But for us, because we're doing it all the time, we're kind of listening more to the land, and we we let the land lead what we're doing, and we also get to know the land in a way that you don't when you are just doing it part-time, because we get to see rainy days and snowy days and windy days and sunny days, and each one has, you know, its own character, and we get to interact in a little bit of a different way. And so I think getting to know the land on that level is probably my favorite thing about being out here full time.
Yeah, it doesn't reflect to a calendar or a specific time or day as well. It just you know, each, I say, like we say, it's every day is something brand new and something you know, that you know, Mother Nature will always throw our way. Every day is something brand new.
Right. The next question I've got is, what would you do if you did not have your house, your cabin? Next question I've got is, what would you do?
We've lost them, Shirley.
Yes.
It looks like we've lost the connection with them.
So what just happened is actually a really good example of what it takes to live out here full time, because our generator ran out of gas. So for us to have power, we have to always have gas in our generator. So lots of little things to think about instead of just turning on the light bulb to get power like we do in town. We have to really think and plan to make sure that we have that power.
It's definitely a convenience in the sense that, you know, we turn on a light switch in town and you know, bam, you have power. Out here we have to definitely plan for it and make sure that there's you know, our equipment's, you know, maintained and brought up to speed where we can be able to have electricity that, you know, powers a lot of things that, you know, for, I guess, enjoyments in our life. We have freezers right now running, and so that's why the generator is running basically to cool off our goods in the freezers.
But we have to plan to bring, first of all, we have to get the gas. So we have to go into town and we have to have a way to transport a lot of gas to bring it out here. We got to plan to make sure we have enough so we're not running out.
Yeah.
And then we have to, just like Rob said, have a safe place to store it so it doesn't get any water or anything in it. We have to make sure that the machines are tuned up and running good. So it's a big process.
The next question I've got is, do you throw anything away when you kill the animals? Do you throw anything away?
Very good question. A lot of, you know, what we do harvest is we take you know, the meat that we intend to eat, we take, and then I guess our share, and then the product or the carcass afterwards, we give it back to the land. So that gives us back the I guess the other animals have a chance and ability to utilize the you know, the, I won't say the scraps, but the leftovers of you know, the ducks, the geese, the little squirrel carcasses, the marten carcasses, you know, all get used. We have different piles we stage that feed off, you know, like there are little ravens that are, you know, just across the river. So there's a family of ravens that, you know, come into the feed piles each day to feed their young. So there's always a continuous that I guess sharing. There's a wolf in the you know, in the area that's probably has pups as well, and you know, we've seen her several times and tracked her in the area that, you know, she goes to the carcass pile and, you know, feeds off of that and brings back food for her young ones. So there's always that transition. So the stuff that we can take, we don't eat, we'll go back to the land and gift it to other animals. So it's kind of a, you know, an ongoing, yeah.
It's something we really think about because, you know, humans are not the only ones that need to eat, and we're not more important than any of the other species. So for food to go back to the land, it's really not wasted. There's so much on the land that benefits from that and that stays healthy. And this year especially, you know, we see it's been a year that is pretty hard for lots of animals, and we have seen not as many as we normally do in the forest. So that tells us that the land is pretty hungry. And so it feels good to be able to give some of that meat that we enjoy. Just like how we share with our elders, we also share it with our other relations and the other species that are around us. So nothing, while we don't always eat all of what we harvest, it never goes to waste, and we'd never say it's thrown out.
So what's your favorite food, says Michael?
Go ahead, Chloe, you can.
I can't choose. Oh, you guys, there's so many good foods out here. Right now, my favorite food is probably smoker ducks, because those sweet little ducks are on the river and we're harvesting them and we're getting to eat them. But I think my favorite food changes with the season because it depends what we're harvesting. And every season there's really, really good food. In the winter, I think moose tongue or bison tongue is probably my favorite food. And
yeah, I guess for my favorite food, and for this season, would be muskrats. Muskrat would be my favorite choice of food, or else smoked beaver meat. And then again, it transitions to we have waterfowl right now. So like I say, a month ago was ducks. We had our first feed of ducks and geese, and that was a really delicious meal. Now we're going to be getting into in a few weeks we'll be getting into spring duck eggs, and those are always a treat to have as well. So every month there's always a new food that we always transition to and try to maintain. The month of June, a good lesson to be learned in the sense that we're protecting ourselves and we're healthy, and we're definitely very happy to be out on the land.
I think that part of it, definitely lots of dangers of COVID to our bodies, but there's also been a lot of dangers of COVID to our minds in town. Like, we can't go anywhere, and sometimes you guys have school shut down probably, and you can't see your friends and you can't do the activities that you normally do. So we know a lot of our family and friends are having trouble with that part of COVID and keeping their minds and their hearts healthy. And I think for us, that is something that we do really well out here because we're where we want to be, and we are surrounded by, in a sense, our friends, right? We're in the midst of many, many different species and things that are happening all the time on the land. And so our minds and our hearts stay healthy and happy. And I think that might be the most important part.
Yes, it was a good question. Hey, so we've got one. Where's Ruby? What is it like to live there in -50?
Oh, it's very, very beautiful. You enjoy, you appreciate the hard work you put into gathering wood. So we'll have a certain type of tree we'll go and harvest, and that's for those cold nights like -45, -50. But during the day, I say when the sun shines, each day, doesn't matter what temperature it is, you have to go and visit your traps and your snares, and you have to continue life. So again, that deep cold really, I guess brings life to you. And when that life comes into your body, and then the energy and the warmth, you get to adapt to it. And it's just like in any other day. It's just like -15 type thing. You have to dress appropriately. So that's why our leathers and our skins that we harvest from the land have adapted to it, and that's that's what we utilize to maintain and keep us warm. So the beaver mitts and then the beaver fur hats and the liners that we use for those kind of temperatures help us maintain. They're built for the environment, and so we utilize those skins to help us continue our business in those cold days. And we kind of thrive in a sense. It's a beautiful thing.
And I don't know if anything feels so good as being outside all day in cold temperatures like that, and coming in to a nice warm cabin and having some soup or chili or something really nice and
warm,
some meat to give you warmth and energy. And it is the beauty of participating through it all, and you appreciate all the little parts along the way. So you appreciate the cold so much, and then you appreciate the warm so much because it's such an extreme.
So true. And what we've been noticing in the environment is these warm spells. So in January, you say, you get a minus 36, minus 40, and all of a sudden it warms up to plus 5. It's really unusual that happen. It's been happening, but the animals take huge effect by it. And so those are kind of some of the alarming signals that are going on with climate change and environmental changes in our ecosystems and our backyard, basically.
Yeah, when it's minus 5 in the middle of winter, we don't say, "Oh, yay, it's warm."
It's beautiful. No, it's
we
actually
say, "Oh, that's not right.
Something's wrong." Yeah, and also with with the seasons is in the fall time we harvest bison, and the bison fat and the nutrition of the bison meat actually gives us the energy, and it actually warms my core to help me maintain the cold winter season. So bison is an essential meats for the winter for us to withstand the cold temperatures. And when you're wearing your moccasins, a thin piece of leather and a duffel inside, and you're out 36 minus 40, walking around in the snow, it doesn't affect you. You feel light, you feel rejuvenated, you feel really like there's a bounce in your step. There's a real nice feeling that you can, run around all day and not get tired. So beautiful questions.
Okay, Olivia says, does your dog help you hunt?
Oh,
What a great question. Well, Zaya, she's a little new to this lifestyle, and she is a type of dog that's bred for pulling a sled. So she's, she does help us in a few things. Like there's lots of bears around right now, and it's really nice having her because she will know long before we do if there's a bear in the yard. So she's great to have for that kind of safety.
Or a wolf as well.
Or a wolf or anything. But in terms of helping us hunt, she's got a lot to learn. She gets really excited when a gun comes out because she knows that something's gonna be flopping around on the ground, and she likes that because she has the instinct to hunt. So she knows she wants to get it, but she doesn't know maybe how to be helpful. So we try to work with her, but lots of times she has to stay at home for hunting trips.
Okay. I'm wondering, when she stays at home, do you lock her in the cabin?
When
she stays at home, does she stay in the cabin?
Yeah, she stays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she stays in the cabin. Yeah. Again, there's always could always be a pack of wolves that can come in. Come into the yard and potentially rip her apart or kill her. I guess so. It's kind of a dangerous thing. But keeping her inside the house is basically where she's living these days, and she's pretty sweet to have her around.
Yeah, she's got a nice little life. She's right now it's really muddy, so she wants to come inside the house, and we got to wipe her little feet off, and she's shedding, so we got to brush her hair so she can come share our tiny little space with us. But she's used to the life of warmth and comfort, so that's what she gets.
It's always good to pay attention to your animals as well, to see the signals and the alarm. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, just for example, the dog woke up and was antsy, and she had a little bit of a growl in her voice, and sure enough, there was a wolf that walked in the yard, about 75 yards from the house, and she sensed it, without no doors, windows open. She knew that there was something around, right? So animals have this, I guess, a sixth sense that that understand that there's different energy around. So it's always good to pay attention to your animals, and when they're not behaving in a normal fashion, there's always something to be aware of, right?
Okay, Michael Artimko says, in what way do you guys get water?
Very, very good question. So our main source of water is when we go to town or on our shopping trips. We'll get a few jugs. So a jug of water is about a 5-gallon container. Will last us about a week.
You guys have seen those probably, like, the big blue containers that you transport water in. That'd be 5 gallons.
That'd be 5 gallons, yeah. So that'll probably last us about a week. If we're washing or having a shower out here, we'll probably use double that in the week's time. So we'll schedule every second or third day we'll have a shower. So that's always consideration as well, because we have to plan for our water usage. So when we haul our water into our cabin, we have to haul it out as well in waste buckets. So we're very conscientious of our water usage. And so we'll always maintain that. So in the winter time, we'll melt snow or melt ice to have on top of the wood stove. And that keeps the moisture level, in the humidity, in our home relatively pleasant, so it's not so dry in winter. So our fingers don't crack or our lips don't crack in the cold, dense winters. So that also helps as well. But
and you always have hot water when you need it. So to wash dishes or wash the floor, because it's on the stove, it's always ready.
Yeah, it's almost hot water on demand. In the winter months, we'll actually get it from the river as well, drinking water. So when the sediment filters out and settles into the bottom of the river, when it slows down in the fall time, we're able to drink the water from the river.
Because in the spring and the summer, it's really, really muddy.
Yeah, it's really murky.
Yeah.
So if you go down to the Clearwater or the Athabasca, which you guys are familiar with, it steers up the sediment and the silt, and so it really becomes really murky, like kind of a chocolate milk looking. And so that is disturbed by the current. So when the current picks up in the springtime and through the summer months, that's the reason why. And so in the fall, when everything slows down and ice starts to form, that's when the sediment filters and starts settling out, and the water becomes clean. So we'll take it from that drinking source. Another drinking source too is what we're doing now is we're tapping birch trees, and we get a very abundant amount of water each day, and it's about 10 gallons we'll pick up a day, and we can consume that, or else we can render it down and make birch syrup as well. But the water is just as good to drink, and there's a bit of a sweet flavor in it, and it's kind of nice, actually, really refreshing.
So how that works is the birch trees in the spring, they suck up a whole bunch of water from the ground. Once the snow and the ice in the ground and on the ground melts, they take up a whole bunch of that water because they're going to make their new little leaves for the spring. And so they suck up as a whole bunch, and it's coming up the tree. And so if you put a hole or you make a cut in the tree, that water at a small point in the tree will come out. So not enough that the tree doesn't get what it needs, but we can take a little bit of it, and that little bit is actually quite a lot. And it's just like Rob said, it's just like water, but it's got a little bit of a sweet sugar to it, which is what the tree adds to the water that it pulls up.
And
so
you can't,
a nice way.
Yeah, and again, you can't be tapping any type of tree. It's got to be a particular type of either maple or else birch. Certain families of that. So it's always good to have, yeah. And it's a small window, basically. We're probably just started tapping, so we'll have about another 10 days perhaps. And when the water becomes cloudy, there's a different transition and change in the tree, and then the buds start to form, and then that's when the tree is done from taking moisture from the ground. So then we can't take the water anymore.
I think my favorite way to get water is either that, or I like in the winter when we get big chunks of ice and we just keep them on our stove, and they slowly melt, and then so we have that hot water on demand, and it comes from ice. So there's all different kinds of ways to get our water. If we were on like a clear lake, like Lake Athabasca or Great Slave Lake, then we could take our water from the lake. But because we're on the river, that's why we have all of these different ways to get our water, depending on the season.
Yeah, and if there's a stream close by too as well, there's always fresh water coming from the stream that flows into the main river system. So you can always go to that fresh stream and actually pick up water as well. That's another water indication or fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can do a lot of different things. So it's being creative, and when we have the garden in, we'll use the river water, the chocolate milk looking stuff. So that actually gives nutrients as well to the vegetables.
Oh, and rain. When it rains, we have little areas where we try to make sure water's pooling off things like our roof, and then we can catch it in a barrel, and that will give us fresh water too.
Yeah. Mainly for washing and cleaning, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, sorry to jump in. Somebody texted me and asked if it was possible using the camera that you have to show us around your cabin, or is that possible, or would you not want to do that?
Oh, sure, yeah, it's fine. can just pick up these are some of the animals I've harvested over the season. We got a beautiful white wolf there that was caught last year, a bison, another younger wolf, and some animals there. Got a moose antler. Oh, there's lots of sunlight, so apologize. We're drying some things. Coffee's on the stove. That's our little pantry. Kind of a 360. Sorry about that. Is that okay?
Very much.
Okay, I've got a couple of other questions too. I'm going to put a couple together. One is, who taught you how to hunt, Robert? And how strong and fit do you have to be?
Very good question. So initially when I started hunting and trapping, was my grandfather was an instrumental piece. My father as well took me out on the land at a very young age, and my uncles, contributed, time and effort into my development as a hunter. So probably about the age of 4 or 5 years old, I was tagging along with these hunting excursions or trips with my family. And I've kind of developed on my own. So when I was 8 or 9, I started going out myself and in the backyard snaring, and that's how I've gotten into it. You definitely have to work at everything you're doing. If you're paddling a canoe or portaging a canoe, you have to carry your gear. So there's a lot of exercise that and physical abilities you have to maintain. To handle a firearm, there's a bit of a kickback. So when you're holding the gun and it kicks back, you have to be stable. So your core is nice and strong. Depending what type of gun and what age you are, basically. When you're fishing and you're pulling a fish net, there's always a certain strength you have to maintain as well, because you'll fall over the boat or the canoe. So there's a lot of different ways of strength, I guess. But we just kind of our everyday lifestyle. We're talking actually, our forearms right now are strengthening up from plucking. You wouldn't know, but the exercise by plucking a bird, there's these 2 fingers that you use when you grab a feather and pluck it, but your forearms actually are strengthened and become tender after a couple of days of heavy harvesting. It's all contrary to what activity you're doing. So when you're chopping wood, when you're hauling wood, you definitely become a stronger back. It's all different. But I started out at a very young age from my father taking me out, my grandfather and my uncles, and I've been doing it ever since. So 6 years old and 30. Yeah, I've been trapping for 31 years, so that's quite a long time.
Okay, and here's an interesting one. How do they clean their clothes? You do, and then the next one is, do you use the bathroom? So I don't know if
Do you use the bathroom?
I don't know if Leah saw your movie where you showed your outhouse, but how do you clean your clothes? That's from Aneshka.
Very good question.
Yeah. So we actually keep our dirty clothes in a basket, just probably like you do. And when we go into town, we bring a big load of laundry and we do it all. And so that's how we clean our clothes. You can wash clothes out here. And we do have what you need to do that, which is called a washboard. I'm not sure if any of you've seen a washboard, but it's like a little board with kind of glass that's bumpy, so you can rub your clothes on it with soap and dry them. So we might we have done our own laundry a couple of times out here, but it's a pretty big process. It uses a lot of water. So as much as we can, because we do go into town probably every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the season, we find it easiest to bring our clothes into town. And my mom lives in Fort Smith, and so we usually do our laundry at her house. And then to go to the bathroom, we have an outhouse in the back, which is pretty much a big hole in the ground that we dug, and a little structure and building over top of it. So we just go to the bathroom in that hole. And then we also use something that's called a honey bucket, and that is basically just a pail inside with a little kind of toilet seat on top, and that's where we can go pee in there. Then you don't have to go outside, which is nice, especially when it's -50.
And always, keep in mind that when we're working outside in the yard, we'll always have, a clean pair of coveralls that'll keep us, from getting our clothes dirty. So that's always a good indication to, maintain, a t-shirt for a couple of days, or, your pair of jeans. We don't have to change every day. So that's always a nice thing. But yeah, socks and your underwear is definitely an important role of keeping clean and cleansy out here. You don't want any, anything, smelly or stinky. So it's kind of a it's a nice thing to get used to. And we're definitely, we're feeling the summer spring season kind of coming on. So we're going to have more showers, and we have a bank shower, and we have a shower next to the house in our sauna house. So it's very convenient to heat up some water and put it into a bag and have a quick shower and refresh ourselves. So it's nice to have.
Okay, here's another question I've got. Does your culture help you connect to the land?
That's a really thoughtful question.
Yeah, I think, with, being, I guess my background or heritage is First Nation, there's definitely a spiritual, awareness and I guess a place in my heart that is connected to the land. But I think as a human being, I still feel connected. That we all have this internally, and if you respect nature and you enjoy animals and love animals, you're always going to feel connected and want to be around them and support them when you can. And again, like I say, we have clear indications that there's a low rabbit population, so a lot of animals are starving. And so being that steward out here to help feed them and give back some food and give back, to animals that are, struggling and stressed out, and that can feed their youngs to go through another season will help. So that connection, comes from internally. So I think everybody has that. And, but I definitely, the cultural being of knowing your awareness of your culture, where you come from, has an added feature as well. So we definitely, that's, for myself personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that knowing for both of us that our ancestors were on this land helps to connect in a sense, because you recognize that you're I guess part of something bigger and part of generations of your family that have been connected to the land. But as far as culture goes, I think it's a big part of it is the way you learn to do things on the land and your place on the land. So for instance, growing up being taught different cultural practices of how to be on the land helps to shape how we are on the land today, if that makes sense. And then those practices help us to connect. And I think a big thing about Indigenous cultures is that we really understand that people are part of land. So we're participating in the land, just like we say we're sharing food with the land, we're developing our relationships with all the different animals and the birch trees when it's sapping season, and we're making sure to remain connected in that way. And that's something I think culture really helps us with, is placing ourselves as part of what's all going on. And culture gives us the tools and the knowledge and the understanding to do that, because people have been doing it for a really, really long time. So that's where that deep understanding comes from. But just like Rob was saying, everybody comes from the land. And no matter who you are, your family at some point came from the land. And the beautiful thing about land is all over the world, it's connected. So it's connected, but through things like water and water cycles, and carbon cycles, and wind, and animals that migrate. Some animals migrate, like those Arctic terns, those tiny little Arctic tern birds with the little black cap on their head. They migrate all the way from the South Pole to the North Pole. So they connect through everything. And so that understanding that you are actually part of land is something that can be for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Varu, who says, can you show us your bed?
The bed.
Yes, do you have a bed? And if you do, can we see it?
The computer again. So we got a beautiful white wolf on the headboard, and that's the bed. It's not that.
And there's Zaya.
That's Zaya's bed right there, next to that.
Oh, what a different bed is that, with that lovely white wolf on your headboard.
Yeah, it's kind of a yeah, it just brings good energy, and we have good sleeps. And you know, when we're stressed out from a busy day, you know, I get to rub and comb the hair, and it feels really, you know, pleasant. You know, it's a very strong spiritual animal when we harvest wolves, and it's a gift from the land. Just because, you know, you're a trained trapper and you can go out and you just can't go and harvest a wolf like, you know, as people think. They're definitely a gift, and when they offer you themselves, it's definitely an honorable thing. So we definitely appreciate, you know, these little gifts of the land, and you know, definitely it helps us regulate, you know, our activities, and helps us steer what direction we're going to go. Like I say, about 5 years ago, there was a lot of wolves in the area, and a lot of animals were, you know, a lot of moose and deer and bison were being killed by the wolves. So as a trapper, I help, you know, manage those cycles. So I'll take out a few wolves and help the animals come back. So now the moose population is coming back, and the bison population. So it's kind of a nice, beautiful cycle we get to participate in.
But our bed is the best. We have the best sleeps out here. And then when we go to town, we say, oh, we miss our bed. And it's just that. It's because, yeah, it's a comfy bed, but also it's surrounded by all of these wonderful gifts and these reminders of where we are and what we're doing. And that just makes it the coziest, sweetest bed in the whole wide world.
So you have beautiful dreams at night, and you're, you know, in a very peaceful and calm environment, and there's no noise, and it's just it's very relaxing. So it's a really nice feature to have, and you know, I hope, you know, most of us get to experience that once in our life to enjoy that. And there's no ambulance or busy traffic or, you know, sirens. You know, it's nice to be just peace and quiet. When the generator shut off at night, you can get to hear the owls, you get to hear the geese flying by. Sometimes you'll hear a barking fox. Sometimes you'll hear a wolf. You know, it's just it's very beautiful. So very good question.
Now, I've got a couple of compliments. Emily says, me and my family are going for living like this. So I'm going to tell my mom and dad about this. And Yazan says, that is so cool. And then there's two questions that I'm going to put together before we'll get back to Ruby says how to get the tools to hunt. But there's two similar questions from Yazan and from Michael. How long do you think you'll be living out there for? Will you ever live in a town? And then Yazan says, do you love staying where you live, or are you planning to move?
Very good question. Yes, those are all good questions. You know, I think we're going to, you know, maintain our, you know, current existence, our structure here for another season. But we are planning to relocate in another new area in the bush, just to be able to cycle and you know, share that abundance and be able to understand different areas. When we, I guess, are able to maximize our, you know, existence in one area, we can go and, you know, replace it into another area and learn about that as well. So it shares the ability, give us the ability to transport and move around. One of the questions was, you know, how long we're going to maintain. You know, it's again to our health and well-being. You know, as long as our bodies allow us to maintain this, and you know, as long as we don't have to visit the doctor or go for prescription, you know, get them filled on a regular basis, I think we can, you know, exist out here as long as we can. You know, having these tools of you know, technology to come to you as from a cell booster all the way in the middle of Woodbuff National Park is kind of a unique feature. So we can maintain a lot of work as well and keep connected into the current systems of what's going on in the world. But also, I say with I don't even want to take off.
Yeah, I think we have everything we need, and we have more than what we could ever want. And so because of that, we don't want to be leaving the bush anytime soon. but moving around to different places is important. And it's something that people do and used to really do to stay, just like we said, a part of our ecosystems and are a part of the land, participating and moving. So we don't want to just have our little bubble where we're here and then the land is around us, because then we might as well be in a town. So having that ability to move around and be
nomadic.
Yeah, dynamic or adaptable. It's a couple of really big words that mean that we can change where we are and what we're doing to adapt to the land. So once again, the land is leading what we're doing and where we're going. That's a key part of our cultural understandings of what it means to be on the land.
Correct. Yeah, and some of our tools as well. We're very fortunate to have earned the money, prior to this pandemic to be resourceful. And so when we go and look at lumber prices right now, well, I've bought a sawmill, so I have a sawmill here, so I can cut my own materials, so we can build a shed or build another cabin, or basically anything you want with wood. We get it from the land, so it really does help us maintain some really critical aspects that we don't have to spend money to go to the store. We can make it ourselves. Same with our clothing, and of our food is from the land. So it's those benefits of looking at our environment and our well-being. And if the animals become sick or the fish become sick or not able to eat, then we're in jeopardy as well. Then we have to find a source of food or a source of shelter or someplace inhabitable that is safe and can maintain us. But again, that's why we're on the land, to understand these changes, and with the poisons and pollutions that are happening in the world. We're definitely understanding a lot of those critical things that are going on.
And as we're learning and growing, we are trying to find more and more ways just like that to be able to get what we need from out here. So when we first started living out here, we had to go to town probably once every week and a half. We had to get supplies, we had to get different things, we had to get more water because we were using more water. That was me, because I was just learning about bush water. But we, as we get better, and we get better every single day, we can do more and more just out here. And so once we establish that, then we're in a really good position where we can stay and we have all of our needs met.
Mm-hmm. And we have visitors. My father's on his way out. The river actually broke up around Fort Chipewyan, so they have boat access now. It's about an hour and a half. And so he's coming in by boat and bringing some supplies. And my parents are going to come out for the weekend. My daughter's going to come out and visit us for a week. So we're going to have some company, and we get to play games, and we get to share the wonderful stories we've seen all winter, because we haven't seen them since probably the 14th of March, due to the ice conditions and then the change in environment. So it's nice to have some visitors, and we'll have some good stories to share.
There's a mosquito flying around. Do you guys have mosquitoes yet? Because
not yet.
Oh, they're just starting here. This one's just trying to get me.
Yeah, so it's a really the comment, a cool life. It's very fascinating to us, and as young people, we're definitely learning every day to try to help ourselves and help the communities around us, and help people, and with food, and the understanding what is our purpose out here. It's definitely our health and well-being. So the physical activities from our everyday source of finding food to help us gathering our supplies and our firewoods, and it's all relatively important that we keep it in mind. We don't pay for a gym pass to go and exercise at a facility or a gym. We go out in the backyard and chop some wood, and that's just an everyday lifestyle, right? So it keeps us very healthy and very happy to live that way. So
okay, here's another interesting question. Was there ever a time living away from town that you felt you were in danger?
Mm. For example, 2 weeks ago, we were transporting back from Fort Smith with our supplies to restock them for the spring, and the road became very treacherous. So, in a sense, a lot of washouts of the river, or so the water of the snow melt was really high this year, and so there was a lot of washouts. So when the road becomes washed out in certain areas, there's a big divot. We have to get by that with a vehicle or a truck, and some of them were, very treacherous. So we had to build some bridges to get across that. And the sticky mud was, really the frost was coming out of the ground a little bit too fast. So, that was basically impassable. So we did make it to the cabin. And now we're basically trapped on this side till the road becomes maintained in about a month's time. So we're out here for, a couple of more weeks, but it's
I think we feel safer out here than we do in town. Like, if we were gonna, because now, like Rob said, we're stuck for a little while, probably like a couple weeks to a month, and we feel just right, just happy and safe and where we need to be. Whereas if we were stuck in town for a couple weeks or a month, I think we would feel
anxious,
uneasy,
stressed about our place.
stressed out. Yeah.
Worried about COVID.
Yeah. So there's lots and lots of different things. Again, there's, your physical well-being, and then there's your mental and your emotional and your spiritual. And those ones, well, really all four of those are taken care of really well out here. And I think that combination makes us feel really safe and well taken care of. Whereas in town, we don't have that same balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now Dream has given a lot of questions. Some are answered in your video, so I'm going to go through all her questions at once. What Aboriginal group are you? Are you proud of being Indigenous? Mm. Then her next question says, how do you know each other? And do you have a car? And did you build your cabin?
Very good questions. So we'll go with cabin, pretty simple. The cabin structure was built by my uncle in 2001, and basically was left out kind of abandoned up to about 5 years ago. And so I started renovating myself. And then when COVID hit, we had to really figure out what we were going to do. So we renovated the whole structure, redid the whole roof, and then put an extension on. It was temporary living conditions we didn't realize. We're going to be out here this long, but yeah, it's currently now our little home. So that's the cabin history.
We worked really hard last summer, hard to make it a nice little home.
Nice and cozy. So there's still some work to do to be done in it, but we're going to definitely have another busy season. So that's the history of the cabin.
We have a truck. We have a car in Fort Smith, which was my car before we moved out here. We don't use it at all. We use a truck. We actually just got a bigger truck with a bigger box on the back, so we can have lots of room to haul supplies. And it's a good working truck, so that we don't have any issues when we're in the bush, because we're nowhere near a shop or anything that could fix our vehicle. So our truck is a really important part of making sure we can transport ourselves back and forth. It can go through a pretty rough road, which is important because our road is not always in the best shape. Just like right now, we can't even pass it. So that's an important tool for us.
Yeah, so it's kind of a safety factor. So, having a newer vehicle or new vehicle, helps us, give us a peace of mind. So we have, a 2-hour or 3-hour transport back to Fort Smith, which we can, be confident we're going to arrive there and there's no breakdowns. We put a brand new set of tires on each season. So we always, the wear and tear of a gravel road wears the tires out, but it's just part of the, part of the lifestyle. We have a quad in the yard, so that takes our boat down to the river and to the launch. So we'll bring our boat back and forth. And we have a couple of boats. So we have a jet boat and we have a couple of motor boats with a leg that, we get to scoot around on the rivers. I guess we have a Sea-Doo for a toy in a sense. We get to buzz around at, you know, high, at a very fast speed if we wanted to. And that's just a pleasure craft in a sense. It's not a working vehicle. Yeah, so that's some of our vehicles. But we definitely have to, you know, respect it and respect your speed. And, you know, we don't wear helmets in a sense, but we just, we understand that, you know, we have to, you know, take our precautions and then again, not, you know, drive overly fast. We have 4 skidoos that maintain our livelihoods in the trap line. I used to trap with a dog team, but wasn't very effective or efficient in a sense of the distances that we need to travel in this day and age. To be a little more selective.
As far as our heritage, I guess I can start. So my mom's family is Dene. So Dene are a big group of people that have a lot of different subgroups all through the North and the Northwest Territories. So the most southern type of Dene is called Dene Sonfline. It means people of the land. And another word that people sometimes use for Dene Sonfline is Chippewan. But we try not to use Chippewan because that's actually a name that was given to us by another Indigenous group called the Cree, which we'll talk more about in a second here. So the Cree gave us that name, and that's not our name for ourselves. So when you're talking about any Indigenous peoples or communities, a good question to always ask is, what is your name for yourself? Because all through history, people give all kinds of different names to people, and you got to make sure that you're calling people what they want to be called. Just like yourself, you want to be called by the name that you like, if you have a nickname or what your name really is. And so for us, it's Dene Sonfline. And that's, that's my mom and my grandmother, and all my moms and grandmothers before them were Dene Sonfline, and they were people of this land. And Dene Sonfline means people of the land in our language. So it just means, it's just a descriptive term to mean that we're people that live with the land. On my dad's side, my dad is from Germany, so he is Indigenous to the land in all the way over in Germany, which I have never been to Germany. But just like we were saying before, his people were connected to land there, and they like to cultivate the land. So they did farming and agriculture, and then they came over to Canada when a couple of generations ago. So I guess my dad's grandparents' parents, there was a bunch of wars and stuff going on over in Germany, and they were moved over to a border area, and they became refugees. And so from that time they came over to Canada, and that's where he met my mom. So I'm a mix of those heritage backgrounds, and I'm really, really proud to be Indigenous and First Nations and Métis. And I think, you know, I'm most connected to that side of my family because that's my family from the North and from this land, and all of my mums and my aunties and my grandmas. They're all Dene Sonfline, and they're the women that I know. And so it makes me really proud to come from them, and their resilience and their strength and their ability to still be here and be living on this land in the capacities that they can. Makes me really proud of them, and really proud of my family, and really proud of my heritage.
Beautiful. Yeah, so my background is Dene and Cree from both my mother and my father. So my father was fully Cree from both his parents, and my mother was her grandfather was German as well, and her grandmother was Dene. So her dad was half German and half Dene. So then my mother was a quarter, and then it passed on to myself. So I'm an eighth, I guess you would break it down, German and Dene and half Cree. So the fluency of Cree was in my family from my father, my grandfather's side, that taught me the language, and I belong to a Mikisew Cree First Nation out of Fort Chipewyan. is the nation and is the tribe, I guess I'm from. Yeah, on this direct land of Wood Buffalo National Park is on. It is encompasses wood. Treaty 8, sorry. So Treaty 8's a fairly big area in northern Alberta, Saskatchewan, part of British Columbia and Northwest Territories. So in that area was when the families, used to be nomadic and move around in different communities. So I have relatives from Wabasca, Demery, Hobima, Wabasca area, to High Level area up to Northwest Territories in Yellowknife and Fort Smith and Fort Chipewyan. Relatives there, Garden River up the Peace River. So I have a lot of extended families in all these little settlements and communities in Fort McMurray, Anzac, Fort McKay, there's Grandjambes. That again, all my ancestry that, moved around and worked on the boats and, in the fur trade and, were trappers and that, existed a life basically on the land. So that's where my roots and heritage come from. And I'm very proud to be First Nation. It's definitely of a privilege in this day and age to witness, the changes and transitions of where society and culture is coming about. The awareness of where and proudness of the identity of who you are comes out. And my father's era was not the same case. He was, raised in a residential school, so there's a little different, I guess, upbringing. But we all have choices to make, and if you follow your internal spirit and internal dreams of where you want to become or what you want to do in life, we all have that choice as well. And that's where Chloe and I sit, our cabin to witness that. This is it was a childhood dream for myself to obtain, and I guess anything is possible. We're, I guess, semi-retired and we get to live on the land and, but still, we work every day to obtain our lifestyles and our conditions of well-being, of our mental health and our physical and, all our good things that come our way is just, what we deserve and what we earned. So that's a little bit of, the background.
And I guess we met about 2 years ago at around this time. And I was trying to relearn how to do something important and cultural for my family, which is tanning moose hide. And it's something that my grandmother used to do, but my mom never learned and none of my aunties learned. And so I was very determined I was going to learn how to tan moose hide, but I needed a moose hide. And actually my mom in Fort Smith knew Robert, and she asked him if he would have a moose hide to share with her daughter. And he did. And he brought it all the way up to Yellowknife, which is where I was living. And he gifted it to me. And that's the beautiful way that we met.
That is a beautiful way. And here's a comment from Aiden who says, I've just got this is so beautiful. They look so happy together.
It's just a show, guys. I'm just kidding.
And a couple of kids, there's a couple more questions. I see we're getting close to our time. A couple more, a lot of children have said, is it difficult to actually kill something?
Yeah, very good question. So I guess in the relationship, I'm the hunter. I've been doing it for a long period of time in my life. And it's taken another life to feed your own or to feed something else. And it is a difficult task to pull a trigger and take a life, but it's an important role that we have to all participate in. And when you're conscientious of that gift being offered to you, there's a lot of times we pull the trigger and there's nothing, at the end of the day, you don't receive anything, and then that's not the gift that was given to you. So again, it's kind of a reciprocal understanding, and it's a relationship that we have to maintain to understand our environments. When there's a bison that's is offered to us, or a moose that's offered to us, we definitely take the opportunities, but we don't have to shoot everything we see. Like I say, I just seen a moose last night. That was a beautiful witness in our encounter that that an animal is healthy, it's thriving. It should have a young one soon. So again, I don't have to take that life to feed ours. We have an abundance of food right now. So it's a wonderful thing to understand. Just because we have money, we can go to the grocery store and over purchase things that we don't need, it's kind of a foolish thing as well. It's not a sustainable way of existing. So that's the kind of the background of harvesting or taking a life.
Yeah, I think for me, when I was a kid, my family hunted and harvested too, and I always had a hard time when things were suffering, because to take a life, you do have to witness an animal dying, and it's hard, and it's really hard, and it's always been really hard for me. But it's that context that what we're doing allows us to participate and be here and ultimately make things better for everybody on the land, ourselves and animals. And that sadness, or that emotional feeling when you do watch something die, is a way of giving honor and care and love back to the animals. Whereas if you just go to buy something in the grocery store, that animal still died, and it went through probably way, way more suffering because it lived in a place where it wasn't allowed to be wild and live in the way it wanted to live. And so there's a lot of suffering going on from those kinds of meats that we purchase, but we just don't see it. And to just not see it, you don't give that honor to the life of the animal, to not understand who it was, where it came from, what it went through. So when you harvest something on the land, you see all of that and you're part of it. And that pain, or that any kind of emotions you go through upon seeing an animal killed, is I think it's part of that really important big word, that reciprocity that we're giving back to the animals.
It's very important. Yeah, it's very important to witness and understand it.
Mm-hmm.
It just helps us maintain our existence in a sense, and then that's the triggering factor. I say, if there's no more animals in the land for us to defend for ourselves to eat anymore, then we're a sick society. Then we're dying off, right? So that's what is kind of the unique role we play in the balance between just not going to the grocery store, but finding the forest as our grocery store. And when there's an abundance of things and animals, then we're healthy and we're surviving. But if there's no animals, then we're definitely truly affected by it all, whether we listen in or not, right? So, interesting.
Oh man, we could keep you guys here forever. I think one last question, because we're already going over time. I think this is quite an interesting one. Where do you get the money to buy gas?
Oh, very good. Yeah. Well, you can start with.
Sure. So we get our money from a lot of different places. We don't have a job per se. We don't have a career and a work the same way that lots of people do. So we're not a doctor or a nurse or a teacher. But what we do is we take our opportunities to make money the way that we're already living our life. So for instance, the fur that we harvest, that some of that we can sell that for money.
We can build products out of the fur we harvest as well. So we'll make a pair of fur mitts, our moccasins, our the leathers we make and tan. We can sell and share that as well. That generates revenue. But it's being creative to where the source comes from. So anything we kind of do is always around education now. So it's engagement with students, or if we can do these online seminars, that's another source of.
So we get paid for this.
So we have some as well. People always say make YouTube channels and YouTube videos. Well, it's not what we generally want to do. We want to share culture. We want to share experience and knowledge, but we want to do it in a very respectful way where it's received in the light that it should. So that's very important. So we don't over harvest animals. So it's whatever the land allows us to be able to be in a harmony and in balance, right? Is the correct terminology, I guess, for our revenue source. Fuel is about $1.30 right now in Fort Smith, so it's quite expensive. And so when it's at a lower rate, we'll buy more of it. Last year was $1.07, so we bought I think 20 drums of fuel, and we can only hold the fuel for so long as well. I think about 6 months is about the max. So we have storage facilities for it. Yeah. So again, we have different contracts we work. Before COVID, we traveled a lot. Our careers were generally a little bit more open, that we get to go to meetings and different visitations in schools, universities.
Both of us built up a lot of connections with people across Canada, and the work that we were already doing before COVID, a lot of it was maybe online or virtual already. So we have some good setup there. So we're able to do different kinds of like writing work and work with different sorts of organizations and governments to help them do some of the things that they want to do and use some of our skills and knowledge, so we can share that and get paid for it while still being here as well. So there's really a lot of different ways that money can come in.
Yeah. Then again, before COVID, or before about 4 years ago, I think it was, I worked 15 years into an industry of oil and gas. Basically, I was a millwright for 15 years, and that subsidized a lot of my activities. So my hunting, my trapping, my gifts giving back to the community was subsidized by that industry. But I wanted to set myself up to where I'm self-employed now. So that's basically where I'm at it, at 35 or 37 now, to be self-employed and to continue maintaining that. So yeah, there's a lot of things that kind of factor in. So it's a planning, is a huge one. Support from families, another huge one as well. So keeping those relations well oiled and well lubricated to help our lifestyle, with going to town to get our clothes washed, to retrieving some water and some supplies, but maintaining our existence out here. We're ready to put a garden in soon, so we're going to get a lot of vegetables and to preserve them. And what does that look like, and how do we plan and process that? If we wanted to go for a vacation, who's going to water our garden? We have to kind of plan for that as well. And we have other activities out here that are ongoing.
And I think the way to see it, and we were just talking about this last night, is that we do need money to get things, yes, like gas and tools and supplies and maintenance, but our lives are not about money. And money comes in when it does, but it doesn't run our lives. We barely think about it. We barely talk about it. We do what we do for love of the land and each other and our families and ourselves, love of ourselves. And that is really what we are always thinking about. And it seems that the money and the ability to do that comes along with that faith in ourselves and each other and the land.
So that belief. So, again, that goes back to that childhood dream of what you wanted to do at a certain age. Well, basically we're living it, and it's a very, very beautiful, harmonious kind of lifestyle that we're engaging in. And, we would kind of wish there was more people on the land to see the repercussions of how generous and how receiving it in the land will be if there's more people out, right? Good question. So there's no stress about money, basically. Yeah, there's there's the financials that we look after. We keep all receipts. We're definitely diligent about that. But I say there's no stress about where, or an anxiety that we have to make a bill, or there's a cell phone that we have to pay. It's just part of our lifestyle. It's not a discussion we have too often. Let's put it that way. So it's kind of a nice thing and a nice feature of where we're at. We don't pay any rent. We don't pay any mortgages. It's
money's just another tool.
It's another tool, exactly. And if we can all, if we all can believe in ourselves for what we want to do, I think it's all achievable. And that's where we come from.
This has been the most amazing session, and we've gone over, but we'd like to thank you both so very much for sharing your lives with us your movies, your videos are just wonderful. And I hope we can do this again.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much for your time as well. Again, you can check us out on, Chloe's got a video about herself. I got a couple of videos as well when I was, a young lad, about 13, on the National Film Board. The Fox Chaser I did with CBC. So there's some avenues as well that helped participate this lifestyle and contributed to earning a lifestyle and a livelihood for yourself. So as a trapper, I was always told from my school teachers, from some peers, that I couldn't exist as a trapper at any age, because there was no value, no, I guess there was no money in the industry to maintain. But again, when you believe in yourself and to where you can build it for yourself, that's the where the freedom you hold in your own hands. So it's definitely possible. So we can leave you with that.
Thank you for listening, everybody, and thank you for your beautiful, thoughtful questions. That was wonderful.
Thank you very much.